Good day, everybody. I'm Chris again, and I'm back here with Pastor Matt.
Hey guys, hope you've been having a great summer this year. Just want to give a shout out. Our fall youth ministry schedule kicks back in September 11th with our block party here at Life Chapel. We'd love to invite you 6 to 9 to our annual block party, so hope to see you there. Chris, what are we talking about today?
So today we have a guest. It's the other pastor at our church. We have 3 pastors. This is one of the other ones. This is one of them. So Pastor Steve is coming today to talk about prayer, and prayer in simple terms, Pastor Steve's going to talk more in depth about it. Prayer is basically talking to God, whether you're thanking Him or asking Him for something, or really just asking, for pretty much anything, whether it's safety or wisdom or something like that. Prayer is basically just talking to God and maintaining the relationship that we have with God. Philippians 4:6 says, "Don't worry about anything, instead pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done." So, we hope you guys can enjoy this upcoming part and stay with us. Thank you. Hey everybody, I'm here with Pastor Steve. Pastor Steve is the associate pastor at our church, Life Chapel in Point Pleasant. Pastor Steve, how long have you been with Life Chapel?
Well, I was born and raised in the church, so since I was born.
It's like the farm system.
Yeah, so I just waited it out, until time came. But there was a season 12 years ago or so that I was thinking about leaving the church. Not for anything bad, but then I just prayed about it and felt like the Lord wanted me to stay.
Yeah.
And so since then, the Lord has opened up the opportunity to be on staff. So as you said, I'm an associate pastor at the church there for 7 going on 8 years. And it's been a crazy ride, but awesome to see everything that the Lord has done and is doing in the fellowship.
Yeah, it's definitely a blessing to have you in Life Chapel, a blessing to have you here today. So Pastor Steve, let's get started real quick. Today we're going to be talking about prayer. So Pastor Steve, do you have a running definition of what prayer is for us?
Yeah, prayer is communication with God, and first for the purpose of relationship with the Lord. Just in my time with the Lord this morning, I was thinking that if our first purpose of prayer is request, we're only going to be praying when we need something.
Yeah.
But if we realize that the first purpose of prayer is relationship, that's something that's ongoing.
Yeah.
It's not something that quits. And that will keep our prayer lives consistent. As we go through life and as we go through our days, we'll be talking to the Lord because we love Him and not just because we need something.
Yeah.
And if we forget that and get caught up in thinking our prayer lives are about request, it's not going to be until something happens that we're like, crap, I need God. I should pray, rather than remembering like, hey God, I'm here because I want to be with you.
Yeah.
I'm here because I love you and I want to grow in my relationship with you. That will always be there. That will keep our relationship with Him consistent.
Yeah. So step 2, I think you kind of touched on, but why is prayer important then?
Prayer is important first to develop that relationship with God. I know if I'm trying to build a relationship with you and I don't talk to you, we're going to lose connection, Yep. Eventually I'm going to forget that you're even there. I'm like, oh, someone brings, do you remember Chris? Oh, yeah, Chris, that's right. I haven't talked to him in so long. I forgot all about him, and sometimes our relationship with God can be that way. If we don't talk with Him, we'll forget He's even there or even a part of our lives. And so that's one, is developing that relationship with God. But then also, it's a tool that God has given us to advance His work.
Yeah.
We are here not for this kingdom of the earth, but we're here for eternity and to build His kingdom. And so prayer is a tool that God has given us, first to have a relationship with Him, but then also to build His kingdom here on earth. Let His kingdom come, His will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We don't fight physical battles as much as we fight spiritual battles.
Yeah.
And since it's a spiritual battle, we need to fight in spiritual ways and not in physical ways. And the tool that God has given us to do that is prayer.
Yeah. So Pastor, what do your prayers consist of, like on a normal basis?
Now, I would encourage you, if you're going to pray, it is good to have a list. Actually, just recently, I've been using this guide. It's called Pray First. It's from Church of the Highlands. You can get it for free. on their website. If you look up Church of the Highlands, the website that they use is actually growleaders.com. Yeah. And they give away their resources for free. This is called Pray First, but it's a bunch of prayer models. And back with the disciples and Jesus, when they asked Jesus, teach us how to pray. Yeah. What he said was, all right, the Lord's Prayer. Yep. And many of you may have heard of the Lord's Prayer, before. And what Jesus was doing was not just saying, hey, I'm going to give you a prayer, and now every day this is all you have to do is just repeat this prayer. What he was doing was he was giving us a model, an outline, if you will, to pray. And I love this little guide. I've been using it recently, but it's filled with just a bunch of prayer models. And the Lord's Prayer is one of those models, but it's just an outline to pray and to keep you focused. It's definitely something to help you start to learn how to pray. Yeah. There are prayers that you can read. There are outlines of things you can pray for. And now listen, for the past 20 years, I've been praying passionately, and still I'm enjoying using this thing, so I don't think we can outgrow the need for there to be an outline or a list in our lives to pray. Yeah. And so I try to keep it relational. I don't ever want it to stick to something. If you feel like there's something in your heart to go off of the outline, I would always be sensitive to that, because once again, prayer is first a relationship with God. Yeah. But it is great to have something like this to help you to be more intentional with your prayers. Yeah. And that's what I've seen since using this, is my prayers have been more intentional. There are things that I should be praying for that maybe I didn't think of naturally. Yeah. That now I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad I'm praying for this every day now. So I've really enjoyed this. It's called Pray First, growleaders.com. You can get it for free.
Seems like you're an advocate for it.
Yeah, I'm one of their, I'm getting commissioned for this.
Nice.
Just kidding.
So how many times would you say, is there like a baseline amount of times that you pray, or is it just course throughout the day? Because I know I've read some stuff, it's like, you should be talking to God, like in every situation, like you're talking to God and so all this stuff. Do you have like a baseline amount of times you pray a day, or does it kind of change?
Yeah, I would say what's really important is, and it doesn't have to be this way, but I kind of am a believer in starting your day off in prayer, so that intentional time with God. And I believe in even having a set time as a goal, not as a legalistic thing, but that way how early you need to get up in the morning. Hey, my Bible reading is probably going to take this amount of time. I want to devote this amount of time to prayer. So you're knowing what time you need to get up in the morning. And what I've seen is that morning time will prepare your heart for the rest of the day. Yeah. It will kind of just awaken you and awaken your spirit to where it will become more natural to pray throughout the day, because you've awakened your spirit early in the morning, So I don't have a set time after that. My morning time is locked in. I do believe in starting the day with that, but then throughout, I believe in living a slower paced lifestyle, and I know that can be difficult with where we live, depending on your season of life. I know things were difficult when we had our small children. Yeah. Babies waking up in the middle of the night, waking up early in the morning. Things were more difficult, but one thing that is important is that we don't make excuses. Yeah. Because we can't just say, all right, 2 years from now, I'll reconnect with God. Yeah. Yeah. It's got to be something that, no, we're going to connect with God, and it might look different depending on. I've had jobs where you've had to be there at 5 a.m. So it might look different throughout the different seasons of life, but one thing for sure is God is going to be a part of my life, and I'm going to devote time to prayer. And it should be, we know that verse, and I forget where it is in the New Testament, but the Apostle Paul said to pray without ceasing. Yep. So I do think that there's a lot to be said of before you do anything, pray. Yeah. And which is why they named this prayer guide, Pray First. Before you do anything, it could pray, and it could be simple. It's not about the amount of words or how eloquent your prayers are. Just acknowledging the Lord before you do anything. Like we did here before this podcast today, we just took 1 minute and devoted it to the Lord, and I believe that invites Him to work. But it's simple, it doesn't have to be. We should never, allow the fear of, oh, I don't know what I'm doing or what I'm going to say, to hold us back from prayer.
Yeah.
Because God isn't putting any pressure on us as far as, hey, it needs to be more eloquent than that.
Yeah.
You need to say better. It needs to be longer than that.
Yeah.
God's not putting any of that pressure on. He's just, hey, my arms are open and I'm here for you because I love you.
Yeah.
And as soon as you whisper words, God's like, I'm listening. I'm there. I love you that much. So take all the pressure off. That's always been something that I've encouraged people with over the years.
Yeah.
Take all the pressure off. And if you're quiet, it's okay.
Yeah.
At least you're there in the presence of God before the Lord, making yourself available, making time for Him. Sometimes with my wife, I like when she's just in the room.
Yeah.
We don't have to be talking to her. And I'm like, hey, instead of being over there, why don't you just sit next to me? And I like the fact that you're just there.
Yeah.
And I think our Father would say the same thing. Hey, son, daughter, I like the fact that you're just here with me.
Yeah.
And we can take all of that pressure off and just say, I'm going to cut out this time to be intentional, to be with my Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that's always spoken to me is, throughout the Bible it says God already knows what you are going to ask for before you even start the prayer. So it's the idea that Jesus doesn't need us to pray, but it's an act of surrender to God that we are taking our being intentional and really we're tending to the relationship.
Yeah, and that's a great point as well, because that's what's always can get tricky with lists, because if you begin to make a prayer list, you'll notice that they can keep adding and adding and adding. And before you know it, there's 400 things that you need to be praying for, and you're like, man, I don't know how I'm going to do anything else but pray today because I've got so much, and that can be intimidating. But that's where it comes in, where we don't have to pray super long, for every single request. We can bulk request together. We don't have to pray for every single request every day, because like you said, the Father already knows what you need before you ask. And the most important thing is to not get overwhelmed by lists, but to realize that, hey, I'm here to be with God. And so we don't want the list to become something that trips us up from keeping our prayer life relational. It's always got to be relational. And like I said, I like to use a list and an outline at times, but we always have to keep that. I'm here first to relate with God.
Of course, yeah. So how would you say, because your occupation is it just so happens to be a pastor?
Yeah.
How would you say that has affected your prayer life?
I don't know if it really has, other than the fact that I see prayer as more part of my job now. Yeah. But since before I was a pastor, I was getting up early in the morning, calling on the Lord, praying for my coworkers, believing God to use me for that day and needing Him for that day, whatever it may be. So, even before that, I was praying for the church and praying for revival and for the Lord to move. So I don't think it's changed it so much, because I think more than anything, I've always prayed because I'm a follower of Jesus, not because I'm a pastor. So I don't know if it's changed that, other than now I see prayer as this is part of my job. I need to be praying over the ministries that I'm overseeing and all of that. So I think there's more practical praying taking place over the things that I oversee, although I always prayed for coworkers, and prayer has been a meaningful part of my life since I was 19 or 20.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I'll hit you with one more question. How would you, if you could give advice, what would you say is important to keep in mind when trying to achieve a thriving prayer life?
I would just say to be intentional. You gotta, something I'm passionate about and trying to teach my kids is to get out of bed. I feel like if you can't get up to your alarm, it not only will it hurt your spiritual life, it'll hurt you in other areas of life, you know? I think being able to get out of bed and not complain about it, that's something that, so I want to encourage you, I want to encourage anyone watching now that to develop a practice. And we need to value sleep. There was a season in my life where I didn't value sleep, and it changed my mood. I didn't get enough sleep. Sleep is very good for you. But I want to just encourage you, encourage anyone else to set up an alarm of a time that you think, hey, this is time that I'm cutting away for the Lord. I want to be intentional, and then get up.
Yeah.
You know, and try to develop the attitude that I'm not going to complain no matter what time I have to get up in the morning. You know, no matter what that looks like. There are more important things than sleep, although we need to respect our sleep. But man, there always needs to be, no matter what season of life that we're in, there always needs to be that time for the Lord.
Yeah.
And that intentionality. And I know, and I said this to my wife last night, if we'll be intentional with prayer, if prayer will dominate our lives, man, like, the Lord is just so going to be with you,
of course,
working in, changing you, working through you, guarding and protecting your life, like your family, your future. There was one time I was praying years ago, and I heard the Lord say to me, your future is changing right now.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, like, how incredible is this that you're praying, and the Lord is like, oh, I hear your prayer, and because of that, like, things are going to be looking differently for you. And that's the reality, is our futures will be different depending on how passionate our prayer lives are and how thriving our prayer lives are, and how lacking they are.
Yeah.
You know, our future can look different because everyone is loved by God. That's true. But prayer is so important to giving us the heart that we need to follow the Lord, and to hearing His steps for our lives, so that we can follow His direction for our lives. So prayer will change our future, and the future of those around us.
Yeah. Well, Pastor Steve, I really appreciate you coming on. Do you have any last thoughts that you want to give out to anybody watching?
Yeah, just encourage you, cut away that time for the Lord. It is so vital. It will change your life in every way, in every component, in every area of life. Prayer will change everything. So just want to encourage you to, the first thing that you can do is cut away that time for God. Make it intentional. The time in the Lord, that time in the morning, get up, out of bed, and say, hey, Lord, you are most important in my life. So the least I can do is get up in the morning and spend some time with you before I do anything else.
Yeah.
And if you'll begin to do that every day, I think things will just begin to evolve from there and grow in your relationship with God and your love for people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Pastor, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah. That's what I like to hear. Maybe we'll have you back.
Okay.
To everyone watching, hope you have a great week. Stick with us for this outro. Thank you.
All right.
Hi everybody. I'm glad you were able to stay with us through this whole time. I hope you can just last a little bit longer. So Matthew 6:5 through 13, it talks all about prayer. So since we touched on it before, I just want to read this to you guys just to give you a little more insight on the whole idea of prayer. So it says, when you pray, don't be like the hypocrites who love to pray publicly on street corners and in the synagogues where everyone can see them. I tell you the truth, that is all the reward they will ever get. But when you pray, go away by yourself, shut the door behind you, and pray to the Father in private. Then your Father who sees everything will reward you. When you pray, don't babble on and on as the Gentiles do. They think their prayers are answered by merely repeating their words again and again. Don't be like them, for your Father knows exactly what you need before you even ask Him. Pray like this, and this is the Lord's Prayer. It says, pray like this: Our Father in heaven, may your name be kept holy. May your kingdom come soon. May your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today the food we need, and forgive us our sins, as we have forgiven those who sin against us. And don't let us yield to temptation, but rescue us from the evil one. So, we hope you guys have a great week. Thank you for sticking with us, and hope you can join us next week. Thank you.